Let me tell you about the day I learned that love doesn't always conquer all, at least not immediately. My name is Ava Thompson, and this is the story of how I lost everything, and then found myself all within the span of a single and very unforgettable wedding day. His mother, a woman with eyes as cold as her fortune, handed me a check for $2 million and told me to disappear from her son's life, forever. I was still wearing my wedding dress when they threw me out of my own reception. But what his powerful and very cruel family didn't know was that their precious and very obedient son was about to make the biggest and most life-altering decision of his entire life. If you have ever felt like you didn't belong somewhere, or if you have ever faced people who tried to dim your light just because of who you are, then this story is for you. Make sure to like this video and subscribe, because what happens next will restore your faith in the profound and very real power of true love. I grew up in the foster care system in Atlanta. There was no fairy godmother, no trust fund, and certainly no safety net. There was just me, my own fierce determination, and a burning, all-consuming desire to prove to the world and to myself that where you come from does not have to define where you are going. By 32, I had clawed my way up. I had become a highly respected marketing director at one of Atlanta's most prestigious firms. I had my own apartment, a car that I had paid for myself, and a life that I had built entirely and with a great deal of a very real pride on my own terms. I thought I had everything figured out, and then I met Daniel Hartwell. He wasn't what I expected from a billionaire. Sure, his suit probably cost more than my monthly salary, but he had this way of listening, of really, truly listening, as if every single word I said mattered. He asked about my work, my goals, my thoughts on everything from social justice to the best hidden coffee shops in Atlanta. When he asked for my number, I had almost said no. Men like him, men from his world, they didn't date women like me. But something in his kind and very genuine eyes had made me take that leap. 6 months later, he proposed. It wasn't at some flashy 5-star location with photographers hidden in the bushes. It was in my own tiny apartment after I had cooked him dinner as we were sitting on my old second-hand couch watching a black-and-white movie. He had gotten down on one knee right there, between my small coffee table and my old TV stand, and he had said, "Ava, you make me want to be the best version of myself. Will you marry me?" The ring was beautiful, but what had made me say yes wasn't the diamond? It was the way he had learned to love my foster care stories instead of pitying them. The way he celebrated my work promotions like they were his own personal victories. The way he saw my own hard-won strength as something to be admired, not something to be diminished or controlled. I should have known then what was coming. But I was still so in love, still so confident that our love could smooth over any and all of the rough edges. The morning of our wedding, I was in the bridal suite, a place of a pure, unadulterated joy, when Daniel's mother, Patricia Hartwell, had knocked on my door. She had walked in, wearing a navy blue dress that probably cost more than my car, her silver hair perfectly styled, her smile as sharp and as cold as a blade. "You look lovely, dear," she had said, but her eyes, her cold, calculating eyes, were measuring me, judging me. Behind her stood Daniel's sister, Catherine, a perfect carbon copy of her mother's coldness, and his father, Robert, a man who looked as if he would rather be anywhere else in the entire world. Patricia had then, with a calm and very practiced cruelty, opened her expensive designer purse and had pulled out an envelope. "Ava, darling," she had said, her voice dripping with a false and very poisonous sweetness. "You seem like a nice girl, smart, ambitious, but you have to understand. You are not what we had envisioned for Daniel's future. You do not come from our world, and you do not understand the immense and very real responsibilities that come with the Hartwell name." My own heart had started to pound then, a low and very anxious drum in my chest, but I had kept my own voice steady. Patricia had waved a dismissive, diamond-encrusted hand is a luxury that people like us cannot always afford. This family has built an empire over 4 generations, and we have expectations, we have standards, we have appearances to maintain. She had slid the envelope across the small, polished table that was between us. "There is a check in there," she had said, "for $2 million. More money than you have probably ever dreamed of. Take it and disappear. Start anew, fresh. Life, somewhere else. Daniel, he will get over this infatuation. And he will marry someone ... suitable, and in the end, everyone will be better off." I stared at that envelope, that small white snake lying there on my dressing table, and then I looked at their faces. Patricia's a mask of a cool, confident victory. Catherine's a carbon copy of her mother's coldness. And Robert's a man who looked like he would rather be anywhere else in the entire world, but who was, nonetheless, a silent and very complicit soldier in his wife's cruel and very ugly war. These people, these powerful and very broken people, they were not just trying to buy me off, they were trying to erase me. I had survived worse. I had survived being an unwanted and very lonely child. I had survived fighting for every single, solitary opportunity I had ever had. I had survived building a life for myself from nothing, and I was not about to crumble now. "Get out," I said, my voice a quiet and very final sound. Patricia's mask, her cool, professional mask, finally slipped, and I saw the real and very ugly venom that was hiding just beneath the surface. "You little fool," she hissed. "You have absolutely no idea what you are dealing with. This family, it will destroy you." They left then, but not before Patricia, with a final and very pointed gesture, left the envelope. With the $2 million check still inside on my dressing table. "The offer stands," she had said coldly. "For now." When they were gone, I sank into my chair, my own body now shaking, not from fear, but from a rage so profound it was almost a physical thing. And then I looked at the check, and I thought about everything they had just said. It's about how they would destroy me, about how they would make Daniel see the truth. And I knew with a certainty that was as cold and as hard as the diamonds in my engagement ring that this was not over. The wedding proceeded like a beautiful and very tragic dream, wrapped in a nightmare. I walked down that long, flower-strewn aisle, holding my head high, my eyes fixed on Daniel. And in his own kind, beautiful eyes, I saw nothing but a pure, unadulterated love. And when we exchanged our vows, when he promised to forsake all others, to choose me, to love me above everything and everyone else, I believed him. I believed him completely. But during the reception, while Daniel was pulled away for what he had thought were a series of happy and very congratulatory conversations with his family's oldest and most powerful friends, Patricia had cornered me again. This time she was not alone. Robert, Catherine, and several of their other very powerful family members had formed a silent and very intimidating semicircle around me in an empty and very quiet hallway. "We have already arranged for a car," Patricia had said, her voice a low and very final command. "You can be gone from here within the hour." I didn't have anything on me because there was nothing to find. But I knew that they would try. That they would dig, and they would twist, and they would manipulate until they found a way to do exactly what they were promising. Not because I wasn't good enough for their son, but because they couldn't control me. And in that moment, something inside of me broke. Not my spirit, not my self-worth, but my willingness to fight for a place where I so clearly and so completely was not wanted. Why should I have to prove my worth to these terrible and very broken people? Why should Daniel have to choose between his family and me? Maybe Patricia was right about one thing. Maybe, just maybe, love was not enough to overcome this level of a deep and very profound hatred and prejudice. I looked at their faces then, smug, satisfied, certain that they had one. And maybe they had. Maybe there was no version of this story where I could be happy, knowing that I had been the one to cost Daniel his family, his inheritance, his entire legacy. Maybe the kindest and most loving thing I could possibly do was to just walk away. I took the envelope. "Smart girl," Patricia had said. But I wasn't done. The next few months were a blur of a quiet and very difficult starting over. I drove for 3 long and very lonely days until I reached Portland, Oregon, a city far enough away from Atlanta to feel like a different world, and close enough to the wild, beautiful ocean to begin to heal my own very broken soul. I used a small, almost insignificant portion of their $2 million to start my own small marketing agency, a firm that was focused on helping the small, independent businesses and the local, underfunded nonprofits that I had always believed. In the rest of the money, their money, I put away in a separate account. I had a plan for it. I wasn't going to build my own new life on the foundations of their dirty Hartwell money, but I could, and I would, use it to help the other kids, who, like me, had grown up with nothing. Portland, with its quirky, independent spirit, welcomed me in a way that Atlanta's high society never could. My new clients were artists, they were activists, they were small business owners with big, beautiful dreams. They were the nonprofit, leaders who were fighting for the very same causes that had always mattered the most to me. And I was working with people who judged a person's success not by their income, but by their impact. And for the very first time since my disastrous and very public wedding day, I started to feel like myself again. I began to heal. I threw myself into my work, into building something that was real, something that was meaningful, something that was mine. My small one-woman agency grew quickly. It turns out that when you genuinely and with all your heart care about your clients' missions, the marketing, it almost writes itself. I hired 2 new employees, then 5, then 10. We became known in our own, small and very independent way as the one agency in the city that could take the unknown and often very overlooked causes and make them completely and utterly impossible to ignore. But at night, alone in my new small apartment, overlooking the beautiful and very peaceful Willamette River, I missed him. I missed Daniel with an ache, a deep, profound ache that never quite went away. I kept my wedding ring on a small silver chain around my neck, hidden always under my shirts, but always, always close to my heart. I told myself that I was moving on, that I was healing, that I was building a new and better life. But a small and very stubborn part of me was always, always listening for his voice, always hoping that he would, somehow, and against all odds, find me. 3 months after I had left Atlanta, he did. I was in my new and very sunny office on a rainy Thursday afternoon, working on a new campaign for a local women's shelter, when my assistant, a bright, young, and very capable woman, buzzed me. "Ava," she said, her own voice a little hesitant. "A little confused, there's someone here to see you," he says. "It's personal." I looked up from my computer, and I saw him, Daniel, standing in my doorway, soaked from the Portland rain, looking as if he had just, in that very moment, been searching for something precious, something he had lost for a very, very long time. His hair was longer than I remembered. His handsome and very tired face was thinner. But his eyes, ... his beautiful, kind, and very blue eyes, they still held all the love I had so foolishly and so completely fallen for. "Hello, Ava," he said, his voice raw and very tired. Sound. I couldn't breathe. "Daniel," I whispered. He stepped into my office and closed the door behind him. "I have been looking for you for 3 months," he said. "Do you know how many cities I have searched? How many private investigators I have hired? How did you find me?" I asked, my own voice a little unsteady. "A business award," he said, a small, sad smile touching his lips. "For the best new marketing agency in the Pacific Northwest. It seems you can't help but be amazing, even when you are trying to disappear." I stood up slowly, my heart, which I had so carefully and so successfully guarded for the past 3 months, now hammering against my ribs. "You shouldn't be here." I said, "No," he said, his own voice now fierce, full of a new and very powerful conviction. "I should have been here 3 months ago. I should have been with you when you walked out of that reception. I should have followed you immediately, instead of letting my own cowardly family convince me to give you time to cool down." "Daniel," I began, but he interrupted me. "Do you know what they told me?" he asked, his own voice now raw with a pain that was a mirror of my own. They said you took their money and you ran. They said you were exactly what they had always thought you were. A gold digger who had gotten exactly what she wanted and had then, with a cold and very final calculation, disappeared. He paused. They even had the security footage of you taking that envelope. They convinced me that you had chosen their money over our marriage. Tears hot and angry stung my eyes. And you believed them? I asked. For about 2 weeks. He said, his own voice now a quiet and very shameful whisper. Until I realized that the woman I had married, the woman I loved, would never, ever have taken their money to leave me, unless she had thought it was the only way to protect me. He looked at me then, and in his eyes, I saw the full, devastating weight of his own. Very personal and very painful reckoning. So I started asking questions, he said. Real questions. About what had really happened in that bridal suite. About what threats they had made. About what they had told you would happen if you stayed. It doesn't matter now, I whispered. It is the only thing that matters, he replied. He reached into the inside pocket of his own very wet jacket and pulled out a folded and very official-looking document. This, he said, is my formal and very final renunciation of the Hartwell family inheritance. All of it. It is signed, it is notarized, and it has already been filed with the family's lawyers. I choose you, Ava, he said, his own voice now a quiet and very powerful vow. I choose us. I choose our love over their money. I choose our marriage over their family's approval. I choose our future over their past. I stared at the document and then I looked at him. Daniel, I whispered, you can't. Your family's company, your inheritance. It means nothing to me without you, he said, and he took another step closer. Close enough now that I could smell the rain in his hair. Close enough that I could see the profound and very real sincerity in his eyes. I have spent the last 3 months living in a world where money mattered more than love, he said. Where family loyalty meant betraying the one person I had promised to forsake all others for, and I will not do it anymore. My family. ... He said softly, a new and very beautiful smile now touching his lips. My real family is standing right here in front of me. You are my family now, Ava. You always were. He pulled something else from his pocket, his own simple gold wedding ring. The one he had put on my finger just hours before I had been forced to walk away. I never took this off, he said, not once. Because in my heart, in my soul, I am still married to you, if you will have me. If you can find it in your heart to forgive me for not fighting harder, for not following you sooner. The tears I had been holding back for 3 long and very lonely months, finally, and with a great cleansing rush, spilled over. I never stopped loving you, I whispered. But Daniel, ... Sure? Are you really, truly sure? Because there is no going back from this. If you choose me, you lose them. Forever. I'm standing there, in my new and very successful office. In Portland, 3 long and very transformative months after the worst and best day of my life, I chose us to love one. But it wasn't easy. It took courage. It took sacrifice. And it took the willingness to walk away from everything that was familiar, to fight for what really and truly mattered. If this story touched your heart, please smash that like button and subscribe for more inspiring stories about the incredible and often very mysterious power of people who choose love over everything else. And share this story with someone who needs a reminder that they are and will always be worthy of an unconditional and very beautiful love. Your worth is not, and will never be, determined by other people's approval. It is determined by how you, and you alone, value yourself. And sometimes the greatest and most beautiful act of love is believing that you and you alone deserve better. Thank you for watching.